So today we have a very special podcast with our guest Sifu Tony Yung.
Olá, hoje nós temos um podcast muito especial com o nosso convidado Sifu Tony Yung.
And for that, I'm gonna invite Sifu Tiago Quintela to be a host of this podcast. Then he can make the questions, and I'm pretty sure you guys gonna really enjoy it.
E para isso, convidarei o Sifu Tiago Quintela para ser o anfitrião desse podcast e formular as perguntas. E tenho certeza que todos vocês vão apreciar.
You also can ask any question to Sifu Tony Yung, because our team will collect the questions you're gonna send to me. So then later on, according to the moment, I can make those questions for him.
E qualquer um de vocês poderão fazer qualquer tipo de pergunta para o Sifu Tony, que posteriormente nós juntaremos essas perguntas que serão posteriormente mandadas para mim, que de acordo com o devido momento eu poderei trazer essas perguntas para o Sifu Tony.
So now I pass the baton to Sifu Tiago Quintela. Welcome, Tiago. So now all the podcast is under you.
E agora eu passo a palavra para o Sifu Tiago Quintela. Então, bem-vindo, Tiago. Agora o podcast está sob sua responsabilidade.
Okay, thank you, Sifu. Hello all. Hello. I give greetings to all our public from the Kung Fu Live channel, and I'm very happy to be the host for this great opportunity here to talk with Sifu Yun. He's my Sehin, and we can talk about my CPAC, great CPAC, Greco Wong. So I'm very happy with this opportunity and hope that we have a great night to talking here. So Sifu Tony, well, first.
Hello everyone. Thank you for your invitation.
Bem, muito obrigado, Sifu. Eu gostaria de saudar o público do canal Vida Kung Fu. Estou muito feliz por ser o anfitrião de hoje. Estou muito feliz pela oportunidade de estar aqui conversando com o Sifu Tony Yung para falarmos a respeito do CPAC Greco Wong, né? Por isso, estou muito feliz e espero que tenhamos um excelente podcast. Então, seja bem-vindo, Sifu Tony Yung. Em resposta, Sifu Tony Yung já respondeu boa noite a todos. Please, Sifu Tony, continue.
Well, first, let me start here. Well, first, Sifu Tony, I would like to have you start talking first about yourself. Can you tell us a little about yourself, how you met my CPAC Greco Wong, and what your Wing Chun journey has been like so far till now?
I met Sifu Greco Wong back in 1994 by introduction of my Siheng Tom Eng. And I met Tom, and then he told me he was learning Wing Chun, and then I told him that, hey, I've been wanting to learn, but I never got a chance, when I was a kid in Hong Kong. And then he introduced me to Sifu in Sifu's basement, and I've been learning from him ever since 1994 until his retirement in 2007. And after that, go ahead, you can translate. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Bem, então, Sifu Tony, primeiro eu gostaria que você falasse um pouco sobre você mesmo, como você conheceu o CPAC Greco Wong e como foi sua vida, né, na jornada no Kung Fu. Em resposta, o Sifu Tony disse que ele conheceu seu Sifu em 1994 através de introdução do seu Sihen, por intermédio do seu Sihen Tom Yen. E ele, na época, soube que seu Siren estava praticando o Wing Chun. Ele sempre esteve interessado em praticar um Wing Chun, mas não havia tido a chance, né? Então, desde 1994, ele acompanhou seu Sifu, Greco Wong, e acompanhou até sua aposentadoria em 2007. Please, Sifu, Tony.
Okay. And usually when I started, it was his group class in his basement every week. And then probably about 6 or 7 years into it, he was asking me to join him privately before public classes. And then I've been joining his private classes all the way since until his retirement. And then after that, he asked my Siheng and me to continue to teach after his retirement.
Bem, então, inicialmente, ele começou a aprender com o Sifu Greco Wong através de aulas em grupos no porão de sua casa, que eram aulas semanais, né? E posteriormente ele foi convidado para começar a aprender em aulas privativas diretamente com o seu Sifu Greco e continuou com essas aulas privativas até sua aposentadoria, né? E após a aposentadoria, Sifu Greco Wong conversou com Sifu Tony, com seu Siren, para assumirem no lugar dele as aulas.
And after his retirement in 2007, I think roughly about 2010, I organized a public seminar for my Sifu. And then in that seminar, he was teaching the three forms and Qisao. And then after that, there was another seminar that I organized for my Sifu, which is for the topic of wooden dummy and Qigong.
Bem, e após a sua aposentadoria, no ano de 2010, né, o Sifu Tony Yong organizou um seminário público, né, a partir do qual seu Sifu Greco Wong poderia ensinar e falar a respeito das formas e sobre Qisao. E posteriormente a isso, ele organizou outro seminário público no qual o Sifu Greco Wong falou a respeito do boneco de madeira e sobre Qigong. Please, Sifu Tony.
Yeah, and then after that, we maintain good relationship and close contact with Sifu, and we go out for dim sum, every once in a while, and then we also celebrate his birthday every year up until the COVID.
Bem, após disso, todos nós mantivemos nossa relação bem boa e próxima com o Sifu Greco Wong. E sempre nós íamos para dim sum, né, frequentemente, e celebrávamos seu aniversário todos os anos, até o Covid chegar.
Great. So the idea that Sifu Tony, the main idea of our talk today is to considering that Sipak, Greco, Wong, and Moyat knew each other since they were young, and that we made a series of videos on the Kung Fu Life channel. The idea of this podcast is to ask some questions about Sipak Greco, making use of this proximity that you have with him, and that's why I like to start with you showing who is you on this relation, right? So that's the idea. Can we start asking some questions about this theme?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Então, Sifu Tony, minha ideia principal de hoje, da nossa conversa de hoje, considerando que o Sifu Greco Wong e Patriarca Moyat se conheceram enquanto muito jovens, então, e considerando toda a proximidade que você teve com o seu Sifu Greco Wong, Nossa ideia é partir dessa conversa, né, baseado nessa proximidade que vocês tiveram, e mostrar a relação dele com o patriarca Moiado, né? Poderíamos fazer a conversa a partir desse ponto. Em resposta, se Futoni respondeu que sim, claro. Se for Quintela.
Nice. So I'd like to start with a common question that if Sifu Tony has Sipak Greco Wong ever talked to you about the circumstances under which he came to know the patriarch Moyat?
You wanted to know about what? His relationship with Buyat?
And the circumstances in which they have to come to know each other.
Okay. They know each other when they were very young, when they were kids. They actually went to school together. If you were to think about this, that is back in early 50s, 1950s. So I would think my Sifu and Sigong Buyat would be around 13 and 14 years old. So, you really have to appreciate the fact that they were just kids back then. So Muyat, Greco Wong, and another guy, Zhao Yatlong, one dragon. Three of them are friends. They go to school together. And then I'll let him translate and I'll continue.
Thank you. Bem, então, como pergunta para o Sifu Tony Yun, o mestre Tiago Quintela perguntou se o mestre Greco Wong já havia comentado com ele sobre as circunstâncias em que Sifu Greco veio a conhecer o patriarca Moyato. Em resposta, Sifu Tony disse que Sifu Greco Wong e o patriarca Moyato se conheceram enquanto muito jovens, né? Eram crianças ainda, e chegaram a ir para a escola juntos. Isso seria no início da década de 50. Ou seja, ele estima que Sifu Greco Wong conheceu Patriarca Moyato quando ambos tinham mais ou menos entre 13 a 14 anos, né? Eram apenas crianças, então, né? Então, e eram três amigos. Era no caso Moyato, Chao Long e Greco Wong, que começaram juntos, que andavam juntos e começaram juntos. Please, Sifu Tony.
Okay. And they live close together in the same neighborhood. And Greco Wong's family knows Muyat's family. I don't know how they know each other, but then they do know each other and they live in the same neighborhood. Every morning they would go to school together. And Zhao Yatlong, one dragon, is older among the three. And then Muyat is older than my Sifu by a couple years or so. So he was one grade above. And Zhao Yatlong was learning White Crane already. And then the other two, they were only interested in Chinese martial arts. And so they both together asked one dragon, where to learn White Crane. And one dragon was saying, okay, you guys need to go to my Siba, Kong Bun Fu. So Greco and Moyat, they were Sihing Dai together, learning White Crane together to begin with. And then later on, Moyat went to learn Wing Chun from Yip Man. And then my Sifu was learning Tai Chi from what was his name? Tai Chi from Master Chang.
Bem, então entre eles viviam bem, bem próximos um dos outros, viviam na mesma vizinhança. E eu sei que a família do meu Sifu Greco Wong, do Sifu Greco Wong, conhecia a família do patriarca Moyat. Eu não sei como eles se conheceram, mas eu sei que eles se conheciam, eram próximos e moravam na mesma vizinhança. Iam para a escola juntos, né, os três juntos. Dentre eles, Chao Yatlong era o mais velho e Moyat era mais velho que Greco, né? Então ele estava numa série acima do Greco. E na época, Chow Yat-lung, a quem ele se refere como o único dragão, dragão 1, né, em tradução direta ao nome, Yat-lung, Chow Yat-lung já estava aprendendo o sistema do Grão Branco, né? E tendo em vista que tanto Greco Wong como Muyat tinham interesse exclusivo em aprender arte marcial chinesa, eles foram atrás de Chow Yat-lung para terem acesso ao Grão Branco, né? Chow Yat-lung, assim, foi a pessoa que os orientou a começarem o Grão Branco. E, posteriormente, Moya começou a praticar sob a tutela de Ip Man, e Greco começou Tai Chi sob a tutela do Mestre Chen. Please, Futani.
And then after that, so Sifu was learning Tai Chi, and then they both learned White Crane before. I remember Sifu told me that Moyat and my Sifu together, they bought a sword, and they both engraved their names onto the sword, and then gave it to that White Crane Sifu. And then later on, Moyat went on learning Wing Chun. My Sifu went on learning the Tai Chi, and then but over time, because they went to school together, and Moyat keep showing my Sifu what he learned from Yip Man, and then asking my Sifu to be his partner. He wanted to show him stuff. He wanted to try stuff on him, and then over time, because of this practice every day, my Sifu kind of like Wing Chun, and then he started learning Wing Chun from Moyat.
Então, meu Sifu, né, nessa condição, meu Sifu estava aprendendo Tai Chi, né? No entanto, ambos começaram a aprender o sistema do Grão Branco posteriormente a isso, né? Anteriormente, previamente a Moyat aprender Wing Chun e Greco Wong aprenderem Tai Chi, ambos estavam aprendendo com Chow Yat-lung o sistema do Grão Branco. E para eles partirem para outras práticas, outros sistemas, eles compraram uma espada e mandaram gravar o nome deles nessa espada, e deram essa espada para o seu então Sifu do sistema do Grão Branco, né? E após isso, Moyat partiu para Wing Chun e Greco Wong para Tai Chi. No entanto, com o passar do tempo, Moyat vivia mostrando, não se aguentava e vivia mostrando para Greco aquilo que ele aprendia com Ip Man, né? E sempre pedia para que Greco o ajudasse na sua prática, nos seus testes, queria experimentar e testar certas técnicas, e com essas práticas que o então Greco criou um interesse, seu interesse pelo Wing Chun passou a crescer. Tony?
Yeah. So after that, when my Sifu was learning Tai Chi, he was telling me that the Tai Chi he learned isn't the form. It was more of wrestling. So they started by learning the application of Tai Chi rather than learning the form, the slow form or whatever. No, it's not the case. And the reason why he was learning Tai Chi was the life back then was way simpler. There isn't a lot of karaoke. There's no computer. Even TV, it's a luxury for a lot of people. So a lot of the entertainment were playing soccer, swimming, newspaper, books, and stuff like that. So he was exposed to a lot of newspaper articles, and then it was during that time the kung fu competitions. It was thriving, and the Hong Kong side sent a lot of people to Southeast Asia, like Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and so there are a lot of competitions, and there are a lot of reportings of those on the newspaper. But then my Sifu noticed that a lot of teams from Hong Kong, they were losing. And then there is one particular team, oh yeah, Mr. Chang Tinhong. It was his team representing the Tai Chi, the martial art is always winning. So they will come back with trophies. So my Sifu also know of Master Chang, and so he was joining his school.
Então, na época, quando o Mestre Greco, então Greco Wong estava aprendendo Tai Chi, ele não aprendia simplesmente as formas, né? A prática dele tinha mais a ver com combate corporal. O termo que ele usou foi wrestling, tem a ver com combate corporal. Ou seja, a prática que ele tinha no Tai Chi era mais voltado para a aplicação, né? E o motivo dele estar aprendendo isso era porque antigamente a vida era muito mais simples. Não tinha karaokê, não tinha computador, até TV era um luxo. Então, as coisas, o passatempo, o entretenimento era voltado para coisas mais simples, né? Por exemplo, de livros e outras coisas. E havia muitos artigos de jornal voltados para competições de Kung Fu, né, que apenas cresciam na época. E Hong Kong mandava muitos times para competir, times de artes marciais para competir no sudeste da Ásia, né? Então, tudo tinha muitos registros nos jornais sobre essas competições. E, muito embora muitos times de Hong Kong estavam sofrendo derrotas, tinha um time em particular, né, de Tai Chi, que era de Chang Ten-hong, que apenas vencia e trazia, sempre eles traziam de volta troféus, né? E foi através disso que o interesse de Greco Wong passou a crescer pelo Tai Chi. Chief Tony?
Yeah. And part of the reason why the Tai Chi teams are always winning, my Sifu analyzed it, is because they have the Tai Chi Qigong. So, like in a match, you hit people, you also get hit. So, he realized it because the Tai Chi team, Zhen Tinhong, taught those students the qigong, so in a fight they can withstand some punches, and they can also throw people and stuff. So he did learn, he tried to learn about it, but then Gentinho was charging so much. Not only did you have to give him a great sum of money, you also have to pay for a banquet for Gentinho and his school and his friends and everybody. So in order for him to accept you as disciple, and then he would teach you the qigong, and then after that, he was more involved with Muyat, and then I guess that's how he learned his Wing Chun from Muyat, basically through Muyat wanting people to practice with.
Bem, então, tendo em vista que parte do motivo pelo qual o time de Chang Tin-hong tava ganhavam muito, era por causa do Tai Chi Chi-Kung, né? Pois numa disputa as pessoas batem, mas também recebem golpes, né? Então, pela análise de Greco, ele entendia que através do Qigong os alunos eram mais capazes de aguentar e receber os golpes, né? No entanto, ele queria aprender, estava interessado em aprender, no entanto, o Sifu de Tai Chi estava cobrando muito, apenas para começar a aprender. E além do que ele cobrava para o aprendizado, ele também, para a pessoa ser admitida, ela tinha que pagar um banquete para o Sifu e para todos, né? E com o tempo, Greco Wong passou a se envolver cada vez mais com Moyat, né? Com a prática do Moyat do Wing Chun, tendo em vista que Moyat sempre o chamava para ajudá-lo na prática do Wing Chun. Mestre Tiago Quintela?
Okay, great stuff till now, and you already covered some questions that we already have here. Thank you, Sifu Tony, and for sharing with us. Sifu, do you want to comment anything till now, or we can continue with other questions for Sifu Tony?
Tá no mudo, desculpa.
Well, I think this kind of conversation help a lot to people understand better the intimacy between our Sifu, my Sifu, Muyat, and my Sihin Greco Wong. So thanks, Sifu, Tony, to share this with us. So then we have a good start. So then, because based on this relationship, we can understand better how my Sihin Greco Wong evolve his Kung Fu and how he can achieve such level he achieved and how he could use the very intelligent, smart way the kind of relationship, because normally this kind of relationship ruin the Kung Fu, the Kung Fu relationship. But in my particularly in my Sihin Greco Wong and my Sifu Muyat relationship, this kind of intimacy helped a lot, to build up both good and great Kung Fu. So thank you, Sifu Tony, and please, Sifu Tiago, carry on.
Bem, sobre as palavras do mestre Tiago, ele agradeceu ao Sifu Tonion pelos seus compartilhamentos, né, com relação às histórias às quais ele teve acesso, e perguntou a Grão Mestre Imamura se tinha algo, né, que ele gostaria de mencionar. Né? Por sua vez, Grão Mestre Imamura, né, mencionou que acredita que esse tipo de conversa ajuda as pessoas a entenderem, né, a intimidade, né, que existia entre Sifu Greco Wong e o patriarca Muyat. Por isso ele agradece pelo compartilhamento, pois assim nós teremos um bom início desse podcast, pois baseada nessa relação de intimidade, podemos entender como Sifu Greco Wong desenvolveu seu Kung Fu e como que ele atingiu o nível que ele atingiu, né? E como que ele entendeu como usar esse tipo de relacionamento, pois esse tipo de relacionamento pode muito bem arruinar, né, arruinar o acesso e aprendizado que a pessoa pode ter no Kung Fu. Mas nesse caso específico de Greco Wong com Muyat, essa intimidade ajudou a construir, né, ajudou a construir ao invés de arruinar o acesso de Greco.
Perfect. Thanks, Gabriel. Okay, so Sifu Tony, taking advantage of this topic that we are already talking here, I would like to ask if my CPAC Greco had comment with you anything about this relationship that he had with Moyat, how this disciple and friendship, this friend relationship between Moyat and him affect the dynamic inside the Moyat Kung Fu family. If he already shared something about this dynamic inside the Moyat family.
Well, you guys know of Muyat as the Grand Master. So you guys are all wondering, oh yeah, how does this Grand Master teach his student and all that? But back then, in the early 50s, nobody was thinking about themselves teaching Kung Fu for living. So nobody was thinking themselves being Grandmaster or even Master. So they were just kids. And they both shared the same interest of Wing Chun. So they like to practice together. One person was learning from Yip Man, another person was learning from Jen Tin Hong. And then, they're just exchanging. And then soon, the Greco Wong learned Wing Chun and focused mostly on Wing Chun from Muyat. And that was pretty much it. And Muyat, according to my Sifu, he knew from day one that one day he would go to the US. So, he was learning all kinds of stuff so as to prepare himself, for his life in the US. So he was learning painting. He was learning Chinese barbecue. He was learning stone carving. He was learning Kung Fu. So, he was learning all kinds of stuff so that one day he knows he is going to use it in the US. But for my Sifu, he was just learning it as interest. He wasn't thinking about teaching. He wasn't thinking about making money with kung fu to begin with anyway. So, but anyway, as such is life, Muyat learning all these stuff, and then one day he went to the US, and it just so happened that he was using his art, he was using his stone carving, he was using his kung fu, and then that was his career. And my Sifu went to the UK to study, and it also just so happened that he met somebody, and then they co-authored the first book of Wing Chun. And then after that, he was teaching, part-time in England. He was later on, moved to Nigeria, Africa, and then he was teaching over there as well. He was working as a full-time accountant. And then after that, he moved to Canada, and he was working at a factory. And then he also teach Kung Fu part-time in his basement.
Bem, todos vocês veem o Patriarca Moyá como esse grão-mestre, que, no entanto, naquela época, estamos falando aqui do início dos anos 50, ninguém estava pensando em levar, em ensinar Kung Fu como uma carreira, né, como um ganho de vida. Né? Ninguém estava pensando em ser grão-mestre, pois todos eram apenas crianças, eram jovens. Então, um apenas estava aprendendo o Wing Chun de mão, e o outro, no caso do Greco Wong, estava aprendendo o Tai Chi. E eles faziam essa troca, né? Essa troca de conhecimentos, né? Marciais. Né? E de acordo com o Sifu Greco Wong, né? Moyat sempre soube que ele ia para os Estados Unidos. Então, ele estava aprendendo várias habilidades para eventualmente serem usadas lá. A exemplo de pintura, a exemplo, ele usou o termo Chinese barbecue, no caso, uma tradução direta seria o churrasco chinês. Estava aprendendo a talhar pedra, aprendendo Kung Fu, né? Todas essas habilidades que poderiam ser eventualmente usadas, né? Quando ele fosse nos Estados Unidos. Né? Por outro lado, Greco Wong estava aprendendo arte marcial baseado puramente em interesse. Então ele estava, enquanto Moé estava aprendendo tudo isso, né? E quando foi aos Estados Unidos ele pôde usar sua arte, pôde talhar pedras, né? Pôde usar seu Kung Fu como sua carreira. Por outro lado, Greco Wong foi para o Reino Unido para estudar, conheceu uma pessoa que veio a ser o coautor do livro que eles fizeram sobre Wing Chun. Posteriormente foi para a Nigéria, trabalhou integralmente com contabilidade. Depois foi para o Canadá, no qual onde trabalhou numa fábrica. E também, em parte do seu tempo, ensinava o Wing Chun no seu porão. Mestre Tiago Quintela.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's a great matter that we are talking here regarding the preparation of Patriarch Moya to come to the United States. And I would like to ask if Sifu wants to comment too about this topic, because it's really interesting for us, and maybe he can address something up on the talk that Sifu Tony made about this preparation. If Patriarch Moyat any time comment with you, Sifu, about this time of this preparation.
That's a very good point, because once I asked my CMO, Madam Helen Moy, about when they knew already when they go to United States.
Bem, em tradução das palavras do mestre Quintela, né, ele agradeceu e disse que isso é uma questão extremamente importante a respeito da preparação que o patriarca Moyá teve previamente à ida aos Estados Unidos. Então perguntou a seu Sifu, Grão Mestre Imamura, se ele teria algum comentário a respeito, né? Se ele já foi comentado, se no caso se o patriarca Moyat já comentou com ele a respeito dessa preparação. Né? Em resposta, Grão-Mestre Imamura inicia que esse é um ponto muito, muito bom, e uma vez ele chegou a perguntar à sua Simou, Madame Helen Moy, a respeito de quando eles foram para os Estados Unidos. Sicum, por favor.
Yeah, because the reason why New York was because his older brother, Muya Chun, was already there, and he was the sponsor for all the family, including his mother, Moy Cham Picson, who came to New York together, all the family, you know. So one thing important I have to say is about the preparation, as Sifu Tony mentioned, his preparation for be there, not just relay with the other arts, but including Wing Chun.
Yeah, I have to mention after Sigong Boyat graduated from high school, he was working for the government. He was working for the land reclamation office. So during that time, he was meeting with a lot of other colleagues, and then he was a lot of the colleagues or students of Boyat. A first batch of students from Uyat were from that department, and then he was actually having a it's not really stressful job. So he was the manager of that department. So he was dispatching people to get the housing from those people, because during that time a lot of people occupied land. And they just occupy that piece of land, they build a house, and that is my house. But then the land belongs to the government. So, the government is going, okay, we need to send these people to reclaim this land. So anyway, so that was his job. His job wasn't too hectic. So he could afford a lot of time to meet with Yip Man. And also he was teaching, and then I think it was during that time he set up his school, and my Sifu was the first assistant instructor teaching a lot of the beginning students at that time.
Bem, né, em continuação, a fala, as palavras de Grão-Mestre Imamura, né, a questão de quando ele perguntou a sua Simou, a Madame Helen Moy, sobre quando foram para os Estados Unidos e o porquê, o motivo era Nova York, né? E isso era porque o irmão mais velho de Moya Chun já estava lá, e ele era, de certa forma, o patrocinador ou provedor de toda a família, né? E todos foram, inclusive a mãe deles, né? Todos foram juntos. Né? Então, por isso que essa questão mencionada pelo Sifu Tony sobre a preparação é muito importante, porque não foi apenas, no caso de Moyat, essa preparação não foi voltada apenas para a arte, né, talhar carimbo, mas principalmente o Wing Chun. Né? Por sua vez, Sifu Tony, né, explica que após Patriarca Moyat ele terminar o ensino médio, ele começou a trabalhar no departamento de habitação do governo, né, para retomarem terras que foram apropriadas indevidamente. Né? Então, durante esse período, ele se encontrava muito com seus colegas de trabalho que, por acaso, também eram seus alunos, né, que trabalhavam no mesmo departamento. E pelo fato de terem muitos colegas que são seus alunos nesse departamento, seu trabalho veio a ser de forma que não era muito estressante. Então, o trabalho dele, em função disso, era, uma vez que muita gente ocupava indevidamente terras públicas, né, áreas públicas, ele, né, mandava, enviava, o governo enviava pessoas para retomar essas terras, né? E em função disso, em função do trabalho do patriarca Moyat, ele teve muito tempo para ficar ao lado do patriarca Yipman. E esse foi também o período em que ele começou a montar, construir sua escola, né? E nesse contexto, o Sifu Greco Wong, né, era seu assistente, né, para instruir e ensinar os alunos, os outros alunos do patriarca Moyat.
Uh, I have a question because I remember when Sifu Tony talk about this. Then my Sifu mentions when he start his family, he start in Greco Wong's father house. So he started to teach in Greco Wong's house. So I'd like to know if Sifu Tony has some details about that, because I think it will be very interesting to our audience to know about it.
Bem,
He mentioned it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, translate.
oh, thank you very much. Então, Grão-Mestre Imamura apresentou uma pergunta para o Sifu Tony, né? Pois ele se lembra que o patriarca Moyat mencionou a ele que quando ele começou a ensinar foi na casa do pai do Sifu Greco Wong. Então, no caso, se o Sifu Tony saberia de algum detalhe a respeito desse início. Please, Sifu Tony.
Okay. He mentioned it lightly when the Muyat was teaching. Before he was teaching full-time, having a permanent location. He was teaching at my Sifu's house. He was teaching my Sifu. He was teaching a few friends at my Sifu's house. And, you know, they're just teaching, learning, playing. Yeah. So they're good friends to begin with. So one thing I have to mention, a lot of people refer to Grandmaster Moyat as Moyat, but his full name was Moyat Gai. So Grandmaster Moyat refer himself to my Sifu as a guy, and my Sifu was addressing, Grandmaster Moyat as a guy. So they're using a very light and very casual addressing to each other, rather than, oh yeah, this is Grandmaster Moyat, because back then nobody was thinking themselves as Grandmaster, because they're just friends.
Bem, então meu Sifu, no caso do Sifu Tony Young, no caso Sifu Greco Wong, mencionou isso levemente, de que no início, antes mesmo do patriarca Moyat começar a ensinar permanentemente no Mokun, numa escola, ele estava ensinando na casa do Sifu Greco Wong, né? Então ele ensinava algumas pessoas, alguns amigos, né? Eles praticavam. Inicialmente eles eram apenas bons amigos, porque e outra coisa, o Sifu Tony menciona que vê as pessoas se referirem ao patriarca Moyat como Moyat. No entanto, o seu nome completo era Moyat Kai. E naquela época, Sifu Greco Wong se referia ao patriarca Moyat como Akai, que era uma forma bem casual de se referir a outra pessoa, de chamar outra pessoa. De novo, isso ocorria porque naquela época, naquelas circunstâncias, eram jovens e ninguém estava pensando em serem grão-mestre, em ensinarem, né, Kung Fu como uma carreira.
Great stuff. And I would like now to start a different topic, but still taking advantage of the same topic that we are talking here. We know that Sipak Greco Wong was there when Patriarch Moyat started to learn the highest levels domains of the Wing Chun system, the weapon domains. And I would like to ask.
Gabriel, quer entrar fazendo já a
Claro.
tradução? Até
So,
o
perfeito.
mestre vai ter um problema, né, com o mestre Quintela.
Então, tirando vantagem ainda desse tópico da relação dos dois, eu sei, mestre Tiago Quintela comenta que sabe que Sifu Greco Wong estava presente quando Moyat estava aprendendo de Man, né, os domínios mais elevados do sistema Wing Chun. Logo, ele gostaria de perguntar se em alguma ocasião, né, o Sifu Greco Wong já relatou suas observações pessoais sobre como Moyat aprendeu o manuseio de armas com Ip Man. Posso traduzir para o inglês, Chico, ou prefere
Por
esperar?
favor, por favor.
So, Sifu Tony, uh, my Sisok master Tiago Quintela was mentioning that he knows that Sifu Greco Wong was present when Patrick Moyat was learning the weapons, the highest domains of the Wing Chun system from Yip Man. So he would like to ask if Sifu Greco Wong ever shared his personal observations on how Moyat learned the weapons from Yip Man.
Okay. Back then, Yip Man only teach the pole and the knife to people who open the school. If you are a regular student, you're just learning the form, the dummy, that would be it. And I was told that, you know, he wouldn't teach you the knife and pole until you got the approval to go out to teach. So since Buyat established his school, so Yip Man was personally going to Buyat's school to teach him. So at that time, I was told Buyat had to give a big amount of red pocket envelope to Buyat and Buyat to Yip Man, and Yip Man physically went to the school to teach Buyat. And in both occasions, it happened in two separate occasions. One occasion was for the pole, another occasion was for the knife. And in both occasions, my Sifu was invited to join. However, in both occasions, my Sifu had family dinner with his grandma or grandpa or something. So on both occasions, he could not attend, but on both occasions, he was invited. So if something didn't mean to happen, he wouldn't, like Sigong Buyat would not have invited my Sifu, but he did invite my Sifu. My Sifu couldn't make it, but the next occasion, after the Sigong Buyat learned the pole, he was grabbing my Sifu, he was showing it to my Sifu, and then, demanding to practice together in both occasions.
Bem, naquela época, Ip Man, o patriarca Ip Man, ele apenas ensinava o bastão e as facas para aqueles que já tinham estruturado uma escola para aprender. Ou seja, um aluno normal, o aluno regular, ele só aprendia as formas até o boneco de madeira. E só aprendiam o bastão e as facas aqueles que receberam a aprovação de Ip Man para abrirem suas escolas, né? E na ocasião do patriarca Moyat, o patriarca Ip Man ia pessoalmente à escola de Moyat para lhe ensinar, né? E ele soube que, no caso, Sifu Tony soube que Moyat, nessas ocasiões, entregava vários envelopes vermelhos, né, para o seu aprendizado, entregava para Ip Man. Ou seja, foram duas ocasiões separadas, né, que foram as ocasiões do acesso quando o patriarca Moyat foi ter acesso ao bastão e foi ter acesso à faca. Em ambas dessas ocasiões, o Sifu Greco Wong foi convidado a estar presente. E foi exclusivamente convidado a estar presente. No entanto, coincidentemente, nessas duas ocasiões separadas, ocorreu do Sifu Greco Wong ter um jantar de família com seus familiares, jantar muito importante que não poderia deixar de ir. Então, ele não pôde estar presente nessas duas ocasiões em que o patriarca Moyado foi ter seu acesso com o bastão e depois, na ocasião futura, com as facas. Mas com certeza, né, o fato dele ter sido convidado é uma questão de grande importância, né, de confiança. E após o patriarca Moyata aprender o bastão, ele chamava Greco Wong para a prática, para lhe ajudar na prática. Mestre Tiago
Okay,
Quintela?
great. Thank you, Gabriel. So, Sifu Tony, I would like to still maintain the conversation on this topic because I remember there is an interview on that my CPAC Makpo. He too talk about the learning of the weapons that he made together with Moyat. And we have these two situations, right? We have the story that Mestre Greco talks about how Ip Man went to Moyat's place, right? And we in Sipak Makpo too talk about different opportunity when they went to a different place to learn the weapons with Ip Man, and Sipak Makpo had some troubles to attend. And then after that, Moyat had the opportunity to pass to Sipak too. Can you comment about these two different opportunities? I think both can happen, but I would like if you know something about how these two different versions can complement each other.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about how and when Makpo learned the pole or not learned the pole or knife from Yip Man. I only hear about my Sifu was being invited by Moyat to go to the school, and that was the night that Yip Man would show up to teach Moyat the pole, and there was another occasion for the knife. Both occasions, my Sifu were invited. I don't know if Makpo was invited. I didn't hear about that, but Makpo was highly regarded as a good Wing Chun practitioner because Makpo was also learning from Yip Man. Makpo was working for the bus company as mechanics. I was told he was big and strong. However, as you know, people being big and strong, they would like to use their natural talent in Wing Chun. But however, he wasn't the type. He wasn't the type who was using strength. He was really good. He was really fast, and he was light. My Sifu mentioned that Makpo would also showed up at Moyat school to practice. Although he wasn't, the formal teacher over there, but he was Moyat Siheng. So they do practice together. They use that place as a hangout place, so they show up, and then the Makpo would also practice with my Sifu at that time. But I couldn't comment about when and how Makpo learned his pole or knife from Yip Man.
Bem, aproveitando o mesmo tópico da conversa, o mestre Tiago Quintela pergunta se ele comenta que ele lembra da entrevista, né, no Wing Chun Illustrated, na revista, em que Makpo menciona que no aprendizado das armas pelo patriarca Moyat, que eles iam a certo local, para outro local para ter acesso. E que não necessariamente o comentário de que mania diretamente à escola do patriarca Moyat, não necessariamente essas versões se conflitam, mas queria saber como que essas versões poderiam se complementar. Então, no caso do Sifutone, ele menciona que ele não sabe a respeito de quando, como e quando Sifu Makpo, que era outro discípulo de Ip Man, como e quando ele aprendeu o bastão e as facas do patriarca Ip Man. Mas ele sabe que o patriarca Ip Man ia até Moyat para lhe ensinar o bastão e as facas, e que em ambas as ocasiões, as diferentes ocasiões, tanto do aprendizado do bastão e das facas, o Sifu Greco Wong foi convidado. Mas ele não sabe se Makpo foi convidado nessa. Não tem como ele saber se Makpo foi convidado nessas ocasiões. Ele sabe que Makpo era muito bem reconhecido pelo seu Kung Fu, e que se for Makpo, ele na época trabalhava como mecânico de ônibus. E ele também era grande, alto e forte. No entanto, muito embora haja tendência das pessoas usarem seus talentos a favor deles, no caso de Makpo, ele não usava seu tamanho e força. Ele soube que Makpo tinha as mãos leves e rápidas, e ele era muito habilidoso. Então, Sifu Greco Wong chegou a mencionar que Makpo visitava regularmente a escola do patriarca Moyat para praticar. Muito embora ele não fosse um instrutor formal, ele aparecia lá, e ele era como um sirren de Moyat, porque lá a escola de Moyat tinha se transformado num grande local de encontro, né, da família Kung Fu. Portanto, nesse sentido, ele não tem como mencionar, como comentar sobre como Makpo aprendeu tanto o bastão como as facas. Mestre Tiago Quintela?
Okay, thank you, Sifu Tony. Well, I was starting to prepare different topics, but I will use another advantage here. And since we are talking about Makpo, Sipak, I would like to ask you if you know anything that Sipak Greco have maybe comment about that period when Patriarch Moya traveled for a year as a seaman, right? And he pointed the Sipak Greco to practice with his Kung Fu brothers. And as you already mentioned, Makpo as one of these Kung Fu brothers, right? Do you know if Sipak Greco could have shared with you any other impressions about the other brothers on the Ip Man family that Moyat pointed he to practice together?
One thing about Moyat was because his brother was already in the U.S., and his brother was sending money from the U.S. He's sending U.S. dollar from the U.S. to Hong Kong. So Moyat was relatively wealthy, in comparison to other people in Hong Kong. So he was very generous. And so during that time, he maintained a very, very good relationship with other Moyat, with other Ip Man students, especially Moyat Siheng. I'm sure you might have seen the video of before Moyat departing Hong Kong. There was a banquet for him, and everybody from the Wing Chun community went to that banquet. So that's how you can tell how well connected he was with everybody else within the Wing Chun family. And during that sabbatical year, when he decided to go out as a seaman, he was asking my Sifu to continue to practice. And then my Sifu was going, okay, well, who should I practice? And he was recommending my Sifu to go to Wang Songlan. But for some reason, Wang Songlan at that time was charging a lot of money, and Sifu says I couldn't afford it. And then he was asking my Sifu to go practice at the Choi school. So at that time, my Sifu already finished learning the form, Chi Sao, Wun Dummy. He was just into, the Chi Sao and fighting. So, he attended the Choi school. And then, he was just sticking with his students. And then he told me one occasion that Choi Sun-Tin has a really, really good structure. And then Sifu was developing this fox out, like his is really fast, really hard. And then Choi Sun-Tin was going, okay, I don't really have to use a whole lot of force. I just have to use structures. And then, Choi Sun-Tin was asking my Sifu to go as hard as possible. To him, he was just putting up a tansao, and then, it would stop everything. And then, for that, Sifu still remember to this date. And after that, because he was attending the Choi Sun-Tin, and then he says, well, I mean, everybody was just, the same. And then they couldn't really take much advantage of me, and I really couldn't learn anything more from there. So maybe I should go directly to Yip Man. And then for a short period, he went directly to Yip Man's class. And Yip Man knows of him as Muyat student, and he allowed Greco to attend the class. So he was just, after school, he would just go to Yip Man's class. And Yip Man's class runs pretty much all day, starting from late morning all the way to the nighttime. And then different people having different job, maybe morning shift, night shift, would attend at different times. So he just attend the afternoon class when all the students, after school, they would attend the class. I think, later on at night, there would be other people who attend day shift. And then when they get up to work, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they would attend the night class. So, there he did meet with Yip Man. And then, there are other occasions when Muyat was taking Yip Man out for dim sum. Sifu Greco was also invited, and he attended many occasions as well.
Bem, então aproveitando ainda, né, a resposta da última pergunta, Mestre Tiago Quintela, no tópico ainda sobre Mapo, ele aproveitou para perguntar se a respeito do ano sabático em que Moyat passou no mar, né, como marinheiro, sobre esse período que ele viajou como marinheiro, se Futoni soube de alguma coisa no sentido de que quem que foi indicado por Moyat, né, para que Greco fosse atrás. Ou seja, enquanto Moyat estava viajando, quem que foi apontado por Moyat para que Greco Wong continuasse aprendendo, né, com os irmãos Kung Fu de Moyat, se ele mencionou algum irmão Kung Fu específico, né? Então, Sifu Tony, ele menciona que naquela época o irmão mais velho do patriarca Moé já estava nos Estados Unidos e recebendo em dólares americanos, e assim ele enviava dinheiro para Moyat. Então, Moyat era relativamente rico em comparação com outros praticantes. E, ao mesmo tempo, ele era muito generoso com os outros, né? Então, e por causa dessa generosidade, desse bom relacionamento com os outros, né, podemos perceber que naquele vídeo, naquela gravação que foi feita antes de Moyat sair de Hong Kong, foi preparado um banquete para ele, no qual todos estavam presentes. Isso mostra a consideração que todos tinham pelo patriarca Moyat, né? Então, no período, no ano sabático em que Moyat saiu para viajar como marinheiro, ele pediu para que Greco Wong continuasse a aprender, né? E ele indicou seu Siren, seu irmão Kung Fu, Wong Sun Leong. No entanto, o Wong Sun Leong estava cobrando um valor muito alto. E por isso, naquele período, o Sifu Greco Wong, ele não tinha condições de arcar que estava sendo cobrado. Então, Moyat indicou que ele fosse praticar com seu outro Siren, Chu Shonten, né? E naquela época, Greco Wong já tinha tido acesso às formas, a Chi-Sao, a prática do Chi-Sao e a prática do boneco de madeira. E ele começou a frequentar a escola do Sifu Chu Shonten. né? E ele mencionou que Sifu Shonten, particularmente, tinha uma estrutura muito boa. E ele se lembra que Greco Wong mencionou que ele mesmo estava desenvolvendo um facsal, a técnica do facsal de forma bem rápida, bem forte, né? E, no entanto, ao ver isso, Tio Shonten comentou que ele não precisava de tanta força. E assim pediu para que Greco Wong usasse, né, contra ele essa técnica e disse que Tio Shonten, sem muito esforço, foi capaz de impedir, né, o uso dessa técnica. Então, é, nesse período que ele estava frequentando a escola de Shonten, ele percebeu que Greco Wong percebeu que já no nível dele não tinha como os outros já tirarem proveito dele, assim como não tinha muito que ele tinha que aprender dos outros. Então ele passou aí diretamente para Ip Man, para a escola de Ip Man. Ip Man o recebeu como um aluno de Moyat, né? Então as aulas, né, as práticas na escola de Ip Man começavam no fim da manhã e iam até tarde à noite. E lá tinham pessoas de diferentes empregos, diferentes carreiras, que tinham diferentes disponibilidades de tempo, ora pelo turno da manhã, ora pelo turno da noite, né? E também ele soube que naquele período era muito comum o Oyat, né, acompanhar Yip Man, levar patriarca Yip Man para Dim Sum. E nessas ocasiões, Greco Wong era convidado. Então ele sabe que ele estava presente nessas ocasiões de convívio do patriarca Muyat com o patriarca Yip Man. Mestre Quintela?
Perfect. Thank you, Sifu Tony, for all this sharing with us about your knowledge. It's great for our audience to have this opportunity. And I would like now to address a different topic about more regarding the transmission of the system from my CPAC Greco. And I would like to start asking about how did my CPAC Greco Wong adapt and transmit his Wing Chun knowledge when forming his student group at the university, and if you can share or comment about what was the impact of this transmission on the dissemination of Wing Chun, even in Brazil, because we have, since CPAC has a student of him teaching in Brazil. So if you can comment about this moment that he was starting his group, and how he was, what kind of challenge he had to adapt and transmit, and how this can, if you can comment on that, please.
My Sifu was, oh, sorry, translate.
Thank you. Bem, então, Mestre Tiago Quintela agradece o compartilhamento de todo esse conhecimento e aproveita para ir para outro tópico, né, relacionado à transmissão por parte do Sifu Greco Wong e como que ele foi capaz, né, como que o Sifu Greco Wong foi capaz de adaptar e transmitir todo o seu conhecimento de Wing Chun no período em que ele estava formando o grupo na universidade, seu grupo de alunos na universidade, e como que foi o impacto dessa transmissão e sua disseminação do Wing Chun, até mesmo no Brasil, tendo em vista que há descendentes deles aqui no Brasil. Please, Sifu Tony.
Okay. As I mentioned, my Sifu was learning Wing Chun since the early late 50s. Yeah, late 50 when he was in junior high school, all the way to high school. And then after high school, he was attending college, Zhuhai College. And there, he was having some classmates. And then he was holding a small class, teaching Wing Chun. And then my Sihing, Thomas Low, was one of them. And he was teaching him probably all the way to Tum Q, and then he was already going out, causing trouble. He was going out to another martial arts school, Long Ying Mo Q, and then he was right off the bat he was beating up that Sifu, and then that guy was bleeding, and then he would stop, and then he went back and just told my Sifu the story. And then, so yeah, he attended that college for about 4 years. And then, during that time, he was having a small class. And then after that, my Sifu went to the UK, and Sifu Thomas Low went to Brazil.
Perfeito. Então, Sifu Tony, ele menciona que o Sifu Greco Wong, ele estava aprendendo, começou a aprender no fim da década de 50, né? Ou seja, isso isso abarcou o período do início do ensino médio até a faculdade, né? Onde ele teve colegas de faculdade e assim formou uma pequena turma para ensinar o Wing Chun. E dentre eles estava o Siren do Sifu Tonion, que é o Thomas Low, que estava presente. E nesse período em que Thomas Low estava presente, ele chegou inclusive a ir a outras escolas de artes marciais para desafiar e lutar com os mestres, os professores dessas respectivas escolas. Ele até se lembra de uma ocasião que foi mencionada em que o Siren dele, Thomas Low, chegou e teve sucesso, né, numa disputa com um Sifu de outra escola e voltou para falar para o seu Sifu Greco Wong, né? Então, Sifu Greco Wong, ele esteve na faculdade, na universidade por 4 anos, e durante esse período ele teve esse pequeno grupo de alunos. E depois ele se mudou para o Reino Unido, para a universidade.
So during that time, the culture is different. It is not something that I promote, or we would like to see in today's political correct situation. But the culture of challenge is pretty popular. So my Sifu would teach people. I think I'm sure Sisok, Jeffrey Chan, Sam Lau, those are the people that he was involved teaching. And then he would go out, and then there's some tricky stuff. He was telling me that if you were to go out and pick a fight, and you go out in nice suits and tie, jacket, so you go out and then you cause trouble with some local thugs that they don't look as sophisticated as they are. So in the eyes of the police, then you are the good guys. They must be the guys who cause trouble. So they would particularly pick fight with those local thugs, and then make them fight you, and then you beat them up. And then even if you have to go to police, and the police will go, hey, these, and of course it's going to be different sides of the story. And then they go, okay, these guys looking good, they cause trouble to me, and then I just have to protect myself, and I beat them down, and then that is the rest of the story. So he would bring Jeffrey Chan and Thomas Low and stuff like that. They would go out and look for fights and see how they whatever they learn would work. I mean, it's not something I promote, but then that's what the situation was back then. And then I think in the case of particular Sam Lau, I think my Sifu was present when he was in that rooftop fight.
Bem, é importante destacar que durante aquele período a cultura era bem diferente. Não é algo que eu apoio, né? E também não tinha a situação atual do politicamente correto. Então, naquela época, essa cultura do desafio era muito comum. Então, tinha outros alunos, o Patriarca Muyata, a exemplo de Jeffrey Chang, Sam Lau, que saíam para desafiar outros. Então, era muito comum eles saírem e escolherem certos marginais locais, porque assim, por mais que eles fossem atrás dessas pessoas para desafiá-los e lutar com elas, sempre aparecer para a polícia que eles eram os mocinhos na história. Então, Sifu Tony, ele é bem enfático na questão de que ele pessoalmente não apoia esse tipo de conduta, mas fazia parte da cultura local da época, né? E ele se lembra que Sifu Greco Wong comenta que levava, né, esses irmãos Kung Fu dele, Jeffrey Chang e Sam Lau, para esses desafios. Mestre Quintela?
Wow, nice. That was a different word and a different time, right, Sifutani?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but we can always make some reflections about how how those guys were very brave, right? On the way they were exploring his kung fu, right? And so I still think that's great stuff that we can talk and share with the people
Yeah.
that like the martial arts the word, right? It's great stuff. And since you were talk about Jeffrey Chan, San Lao, they were all C dies for Sipa Greco. And
Yeah.
I want to ask you about something very specific about his position in the family, because he was the Dai Dai Ji, right? He was the Dai Sihin of those guys. And I would like to ask if he already shared with you any challenge he probably faced being on that position, because maybe he should try to take care of those guys. They were all young, right? And then together with this question, I would like to ask my Sifu to comment on those topics too.
No,
Bem,
just to mention. Oh, sorry, Gabriel. O quer fazer a tradução antes de eu entrar?
obrigado, Scum. Bem, mestre Tiago Quintela comenta rapidamente que, em função da resposta do Cifutone, que tratava-se de um mundo diferente, de uma época diferente, né? No entanto, todos nós podemos refletir bastante a respeito dessas histórias, que são muito boas de serem compartilhadas, né, com as pessoas. E aproveitando que foram mencionados Jeffrey Chen e Sam Lau, que ambos se dai do Sifu Greco Wong, ele aproveitou para perguntar para o Sifu Tony Um quais foram os aspectos mais significativos e desafios enfrentados por Greco Um em sua posição como Dai Dai Ji na família Moyat, pois talvez em função dessa posição ele tinha que cuidar do seu Sidai, dos seus irmãos Kung Fu. E aproveitou para convidar o seu Sifu Grão Mestre Imamura para compartilhar a respeito desse tópico. Sifu, por favor.
No, just to mention about the importance of all this, because Sifu Tony Yung mentioned about Sifu Thomas Low. Sifu Thomas Low was a pioneer of Wing Chun in Brazil. So, of course, all this happened a long time ago in Hong Kong, but reflected in Brazil years later. So when when I believe Sifu Thomas Low came to Brazil late 60s, and he started a very small group, and but still is important recognize his importance for the Brazilian Wing Chun, and he recognized him as a Wing Chun pioneer in Brazil. Just I like to mention that.
Bem, Grão-Mestre Imamura, né, cita que é importante destacar a importância de tudo isso, pois uma vez que Sifu Tonion mencionou Sifu Thomas Low, que foi um pioneiro do Wing Chun no Brasil, né? Destaca-se que tudo isso aconteceu muito tempo atrás em Hong Kong e, no entanto, anos depois, refletiu no Brasil, né? Sifu Thomas Low veio para o Brasil no fim da década de 60 e começou inicialmente com um grupo muito pequeno. No entanto, é importante reconhecê-lo como um verdadeiro pioneiro do Wing Chun no Brasil. Sifu.
So to address that question, whether being the most senior student of Muyat, if there's any challenges and stuff, I think the environment back then is different. I think they were in Hong Kong, they're having a school, accepting, a small amount of students, and it's not a big association. So the relationship between him and Muyat and all the other students who are joining the school, the relationship was kind of casual. So, the organization wasn't big, there isn't any politics. So, I don't think there's anything much to talk about, besides the fact that they share the common interest. One person learned from Yip Man, who are, trying to transmit the skills to the next generations. And my Sifu, being the Siheng, was leading some of the junior students, joining that particular, culture, and they went out and looked for fight, and then my Sifu as a backup, and then, that was pretty much it.
Então, com relação à pergunta dos desafios enfrentados pelo Sifu Greco Wong por ser o aluno mais antigo de Muyat, Sifu Tony Yun, né, destaca que é importante deixar claro que o ambiente era muito diferente na época, pois eles estavam em Hong Kong, era um pequeno grupo de alunos e não havia uma grande organização. Então a relação entre eles era bem casual, né? Não tinha uma organização grande, não tinha por que ter muita política em volta disso, né? Então, na realidade, era uma pessoa que aprendeu, estava aprendendo de mãe e estava tentando ensinar para a próxima geração. E dentro desse contexto, tinha um grupo de alunos, né, que eventualmente o Sifu Greco acompanhou, que saíam para desafiar, para lutarem, né, na rua. Mestre Tiago Quintela?
Okay, thank you, Sifu Tony. So we are heading towards the end of our podcast, and I would like to make some final questions. And of course, I'll let my Sifu talk together. And one question I would like to address is, was there any specific reason why Sipak Greco Wong choose Canada to live and teach Wing Chun? And even though he already retired, any chance he's already teaching or accepting other students right nowadays?
Bem, obrigado, Sifu Tonião, né, as palavras sobre Quintela, e já estamos chegando às perguntas finais, então gostaria de saber se havia algum motivo específico pelo qual o Sifu Greco Wong escolheu o Canadá para morar e para ensinar. Sifu Tony, please.
Okay. As I mentioned, he was in the UK, then Nigeria, and then he came to Canada. The specific reason why he came to Canada was because his wife, my Simo, has family connections in Canada. So that was the reason why, they want to settle in a place other than Nigeria. And so at the time, they were having kids. So they sold everything, and then they bought a house here in Calgary. I was told that, he was making good money in Nigeria, and then they even paid for the house in full in Calgary before he even moved to Calgary. First, it was Simo came with the kids to Calgary, and then my Sifu followed after he settled all the businesses in Nigeria. That is the main reason why he picked Canada. And after he came to Canada in the early or mid 70s, and he has been working and teaching only on the weekends. He's very diligent, and he's very disciplined in such a way that, he only worked Monday to Friday, and then he would spend his time with his father, and family on Saturday, and then he devote his time to teaching only on Sunday. And there was a short period of time that he was teaching on a Wednesday night, but then that that didn't continue that much. As per now, he retired from public teaching in 2007, and besides the couple occasions when he was having a seminar, he wasn't really teaching. I mean, I would see him, often, every month or every 2 months, and asking him to come for dim sum, and then he will come, give us, we chat, give us advice, and it was even difficult to even have him come to my place, and then I show him the dummy after, so many years of retirement, and then he would check on my progress.
Bem, foi mencionado, o Sifu Tonion menciona que Sifu Greco Wong passou pelo Reino Unido, pela Nigéria e depois Canadá. E o motivo pelo qual eles foram para o Canadá é porque sua esposa, a Simou do Sifu Tonion, tinha conexões familiares lá no Canadá. Então, e eles queriam se estabelecer em outro lugar, né? Eles estavam na Nigéria, mas queriam se estabelecer em outro lugar. Na época, eles estavam tendo filhos, e então Sifu Greco Wong vendeu tudo que tinha na Nigéria para comprar uma casa em Calgary, né? Na época, ele estava recebendo bem pelo seu negócio, né, na Nigéria, e ele encerrou, e na época ele conseguiu pagar a casa integralmente, né? Comprar a casa e quitar a casa, né? Ele encerrou todos os seus negócios lá na Nigéria e foi para o Canadá, mais ou menos no início ou pela metade da década de 70. E lá ele estava trabalhando, né, durante a semana, e ensinava aos finais de semana. Sifu Tony comenta que Sifu Greco Wong era muito diligente e disciplinado. Ele trabalhava de segunda a sexta. Sábado ele se dedicava ao pai e à família, e aos domingos ele ensinava, né? Já teve ocasião em que ele tentou ensinar às quartas à noite, mas isso não teve progresso, não continuou, né? Posteriormente ele se aposentou em 2007, né? Após isso ele chegou a ministrar diversos seminários, mas não ensinava. E mesmo após a aposentadoria, Sifutone ressalta que eles ainda assim se encontravam com seu Sifu Greco Wong com frequência, e tinham dim sum com frequência. E ainda assim, mesmo após tantos anos, tinha ocasião em que Sifu Tony Yong levou seu Sifu até sua casa para avaliar sua prática no boneco de madeira, né? Bem, Sifu Tiago Quintela.
Great, great. So, Sifu Tony, I would like to now to enter a little more on the period of Canada, and I would like to start talking with you. Yeah, later on we were talking, both of us, in WhatsApp, and you shared with me a very interesting story about how your Sihim Kam Wong and Sipak Greco met. And today your Sihim Kam continues the transmission of Wing Chun together with you, right, in the name of Sipak. So can you share a little more about the work you do today in Canada, and how the Sipak Greco how the Greco family is now established in Calgary, especially in relation to the transmission of Wing Chun to new generations, new students? Can you talk a little more about this moment?
He started teaching. He has always taught from his basement, and I think most of the time he connect with the co-workers and from the meat factory. Ever since he established in Calgary, he was working at the meat factory. He was loading truckloads of cows from the truck. The cows were connected to the conveyor, and he was just pushing the cows into the warehouse. And then, he would just use the cows as punching bags. And from there, people knows that he knows Kung Fu, and then he make acquaintances and then invite people to come to his basement for lessons. And then most of the students are introduced to him through word of mouth. I think he only advertised once. It was out of my Seaheng Camp's recommendations, and then that didn't get a lot of students. But then everybody, you met him, and then you talk to him, and then you know he got skill, and then you would join his class. And after you join his class, and then you go, hey, I know this guy. This guy is really good. And then, why don't you come to his class? And then, everything is done through word of mouth. He never really advertised at all. And then there was one time there was a demonstration. I think it was the beginning of the Chinese Cultural Center in Calgary. Before the Chinese Cultural Center was built, and they were having a promotion on the site, and there was some Kung Fu demonstration. So my Sifu was demonstrating the Wing Chun and Qigong, Tipo Sam, and then there were some students joining him, and basically it started from there. And in regards to my Seaheng Kem Wong, he has been along with my Sifu since the late 70s. And he was working as a restaurant worker. And then after he met with my Sifu introduced him to the meat factory. And then he has been at the meat factory as a meat cutter ever since. So basically, he used to see my Sifu every single day, even more often than his own dad.
Bem, o
Yeah.
mestre Tiago Quintela, ele comenta que gostaria de entrar um pouco mais no período do Canadá, né? Uma vez que Sifu Tony Yong compartilhou com ele uma história muito interessante, né? Da ocasião em que ele conheceu seu Seaheng Camp e adentrar em como que o trabalho tem se desenvolvido no Canadá. O trabalho se desenvolveu no Canadá, como que o mestre Sifu Greco Wong se estabeleceu no Canadá, né? E está até hoje lá provendo para as futuras gerações, né? O Sifu Tony, ele menciona que Sifu Greco Wong começou no porão, né? No porão de sua casa, e inicialmente passou a ensinar pessoas pelas conexões que ele tinha pelos trabalhadores de restaurante e os trabalhadores de frigoríficos, né? Então, ou de matadouros, né, de carne bovina, no caso. E naquela época, Sifu Greco Wong, ele trabalhava na carga, ele enchia os caminhões de carga, né, com gados, com vacas, né, para, para carne, e ele aproveitava e usava as carnes, né, e os gados como saco de pancada para treinar. E assim as pessoas souberam que Sifu Greco On sabia Kung Fu. Então passaram a vir até ele para aulas, né? E o Sifu Tonion, ele ressalta que naquela época era tudo, né? Não tinha propaganda e era tudo passado de boca em boca, né? Acontecia, e muita gente ia pela indicação do seu Siren Ken, né? Passado de boca em boca. Às vezes vinham aprender com o Siren dele e o Siren dele falava, ó, e acaba que eu conheço uma pessoa que também é muito boa, e assim passava para o Sifu dele. Teve também a ocasião do Centro Cultural Chinês, que foi inaugurado lá, e antes dele ser inaugurado, houve uma feira de demonstração, né? Houve uma ocasião em que o Sifu Greco On teve a oportunidade de fazer demonstrações de Kung Fu, né? E após isso, e teve muitos alunos também que ajudaram, e após isso teve alunos que se uniram ao Sifu Greco Wong, né? No caso do citado Siren Kem, ele participou, ele passou a integrar a família no fim da década de 70, E ele, naquela época, antes de se entregar à família, ele trabalhava com restaurante, né? E quando conheceu o Sifu Greco Wong o trouxe para o matadouro, para trabalhar com carne. E assim o Sihen Ken passou a trabalhar como cortador de carne. E eles se encontravam todos os dias, né? Mestre Quintela?
Okay. So another topic using
So
this.
I just wanted to add, sorry,
Okay.
I just wanted to add that he has the charisma. So when you meet him, and then he will show you stuff, and then even the very simple stuff that to him is simple, but he show it to you, you will never be able to do it, and then he would just be able to convince you that, hey, this is just kung fu, you just have to practice. And if you truly admire something, you would share with your friends, you would share with your family, and that's how he has a lot of followings, without even advertising it. So that's how it goes. And his class are just the informal, but and a lot of people come and go. But then I stay there for a long time, and I can see a lot of people says he doesn't have a curriculum. I mean, he might have a curriculum in general. Okay, you learn Silim Tao, you learn the Bong Sao Lap Dao, you learn Dan Qi, you learn Cham Kiu, and then you learn the rest. But sporadically, today all of a sudden we just have to do this exercise, and then the next day, maybe someone posed a question. Okay, that would be the topic for today, and we just do that. It might look to you that he doesn't have a curriculum, but then if you stay there for a long time, you would see that it follow a general curriculum that will reappear over and over and over again. And he's such old school. You just have to be with him for a long time in order to get the full curriculum.
Bem, adicionalmente, o Sifu Tonian comenta que o Sifu Greco era extremamente carismático, tinha um carisma enorme, e quando as pessoas o conheciam, ele demonstravam coisas que pareciam ser simples, mas a forma que ele demonstrava era impressionante e as pessoas não conseguiam fazer essas coisas, não conseguiam realizar, repetir essas mesmas coisas que Sifu Greco fazia, que aparentava ser simples, né? Então, para as pessoas que tinham interesse, tinham que se dedicar, né, para conseguir fazer essas coisas. As aulas eram informais, né? Muitas pessoas iam e vinham, né? Entravam e saíam. E inicialmente parecia que Sifu Greco Wong não tinha um currículo geral, né? Pois com certeza tinha um currículo, né, dos conteúdos, né, tinha a ordem, mas de repente, né, certo dia estavam praticando e ele vinha e ensinava um outro conteúdo, né? Então parecia que não tinha um currículo, mas sim seguia um currículo geral que reaparecia várias vezes com o tempo. Então as pessoas tinham que acompanhá-lo para para entender e ter acesso a esse currículo geral. Mestre Tiago Quintela?
Okay, so taking advantage too about this topic that we are talking about, the great charisma of my CPAC, I would like to ask Sifu Tony and make a joining them here about regarding this great charisma that CPAC have. Do you attribute this to the opportunity to write the first book in English about Wing Chun when he was in UK? And he has that opportunity. We didn't address this topic here on the interview, and it's a great chance to talk about it because it was a great innovation, and that book made a great influence on a lot of practitioners of Wing Chun in those days. So can you talk about a little about if you see that connection between the charisma of my CPAC, the way he got the opportunity to write that book, and in comment a little more about what you know about the creation of the opportunity to write that book?
Bem, aproveitando, thank you. Aproveitando, né, o tópico do carisma do Sifu Greco Wong, eu gostaria, Mestre Tiago Quintela, eu gostaria de perguntar ao Sifu Tony Yong, né, se o carisma do Sifu Greco Wong, né, contribuiu para a oportunidade da escrita do primeiro livro, né, sobre Wing Chun, né, que foi uma grande inovação e uma grande influência para os praticantes de Wing Chun. Então, ele pergunta se haveria alguma conexão entre o carisma e a oportunidade para escrever o livro sobre Wing Chun. Please, Sifu Tony Yong.
Okay. I think it's talk about charisma. I think he attracts that kind of attention, you know. That happened when he was studying in the UK. And I was told that in the UK, in London, there is a gathering place for the Chinese community called the Hong Kong House. He lived in a city 1 hour away from London, but then he would, at times go to London for gathering at Hong Kong House. From there, he met with Sifu Paul Lam, who was a student of Leung Seung, and together they talked about Wing Chun. And he also met with Sifu Ralph Klonitso. And Sifu Ralph mentioned that he was the student of Wong Sung Leung, and he was learning up to Chamkyu level at the time. And then, I think they probably touch hand or exchange a little bit, and then he recognized Sifu's skills. And then he was having an idea of writing a book about Wing Chun because he knows of the publisher, Paul Crimpton. And he was the person who did the introduction to Paul Crimpton, and then they decided to do the book together. My Sifu already at the time having couple students at the same apartment. I think they rented a house and there are several rooms and there are several Malaysian students. So I think my Sifu was teaching those couple guys. And that is how the project came about. And then my Sifu doesn't want to travel all the way every week to go out to London to take pictures or communicate with Ralph. So the Paul Crimpton and Ralph would come to my Sifu's place to discuss and then do pictures for the books.
Bem, com relação ao carisma, né, Sifu Tonyon acha que essa era uma qualidade que atraía muita atenção das pessoas. E durante esse período em que Sifu Greco Wong estava estudando no Reino Unido, né, ele destaca que em Londres tinha um local que era dedicado para a reunião, né, para o encontro da comunidade chinesa, era chamado de Hong Kong House, né? E nesse local ele chegou a conhecer Sifu Paul Lam, que era um aluno de Leung Seung, né? Outro aluno de Ip Man, no caso. Então, e posteriormente, ele se encontrou com Ralph Kalitso, que na época, que também tinha acesso ao Sifu Leung Seung, e na época teve acesso até o domínio do Chamkyu, do sistema Wing Chun. E Ralph quis tocar no braço do Sifu Greco Wong e imediatamente reconheceu suas habilidades, né? E passou então a querer escrever um livro sobre Wing Chun, que ele conhecia o dono de uma editora, né, que era o Paul Quentin. Então, naquela época, Sifu Greco Wong tinha alguns alunos, ensinava no apartamento. Inicialmente foi no apartamento e depois passaram a alugar uma casa. e ele tinha um pequeno grupo de alunos, e foi assim que o projeto começou. E na época, Sifu Greco Wong, ele não tinha condições, não queria ficar indo até Londres, toda vez até Londres, para se encontrar com Paul Quintela e com Ralph. Então, esses dois vinham até o seu local para eles discutirem e trocarem ideias a respeito desse projeto do livro. Mestre Tiago Quintela?
Okay, thank you, Sifu Tony. I will ask my Sifu.
One side note, sorry. One side note was before Sifu, my Sifu was agreeing to the publication of the book. He did write a letter to Sigong Muya asking for permission for the book, and then they waited, and then Sigong Muya gave his okay to my Sifu. Then my Sifu was asking Paul Crampton to come to the house to do picture and stuff. My Sifu did the talking, Rolf did the writing, and the material and everything was from my Sifu. My Sifu at the time was already having a side job teaching Wing Chun with Sifu Paul Lam. They were teaching a small group of local Caucasians people. At the time, they were considered to be the second person teaching or spreading Wing Chun in UK. There was already one person before Sifu, but that person was only teaching Chinese people.
Bem, ele faz uma menção de mais um detalhe, o Sifu Tony Yun, que é que antes ele destaca, ele ressalta que antes do Sifu Greco Wong concordar com a publicação do livro, concordar com o projeto do livro, ele escreveu uma carta para o patriarca Moyat pedindo sua permissão. E somente após eles receberem, né, a confirmação e a permissão do patriarca Moyat, que ele começou a trabalhar com Ralph, né, que até eles tiravam fotos. Sifu Greco Wong fazia, ele dizia tudo, contribuía com todo o material e conteúdo, enquanto Ralph fazia a escrita, escrevia tudo para passar para o livro, né? E naquela época, Sifu Greco Wong já tinha seu segundo trabalho, que era ensinar Wing Chun ao lado do Sifu Paul Lam, né? E ele ressalta que eles ensinavam os locais, ou seja, ensinavam não somente chineses, só que também os locais, os próprios ingleses, que muito embora Sifu Greco Wong tivesse sido a segunda pessoa a ensinar o Wing Chun no Reino Unido, a primeira pessoa que estava lá ensinava exclusivamente para chineses, enquanto o Sifu Greco Wong também ensinava para os locais, para aqueles que não necessariamente eram chineses. Thank you, Sifu Tony.
Okay, thank you, Sifu Tony. I would like to call my Sifu to comment about the importance of this book on his journey, on his own journey, because we know it's a common knowledge that he translated the entire book on that time, word by word. So I would like to ask my Sifu to comment. Please, Sifu.
Yeah, that's true. What happened those days, the level of information here in Brazil about Wing Chun was very rare. No, I mean, so when I got the book, my Sihin's book, I mean, no original. I talk about just the Xerox copy, and I bind it, and I could translate word by word, because by that time I have no English at all. So I just use the dictionary. Of course, there is no Google Translator, no nothing. That's, you have to find word by word. Sometimes it takes one day to translate one page, which is interesting, because we feel really can enjoy it and learn in a different way when you do that. And just want to emphasize the name of the co-author of the book, Rolf Klausnitzer, which is a German name. And the editor of the book was Mr. Paul Crampton, which is a person who already has a magazine, a famous magazine, the most famous martial arts magazine called Karate and Oriental Arts, which is a famous magazine, most famous magazine by that time. I believe the only one in England. So, but my questions to Sifu Tony is how Sihin Greco select the content for the book, because everything was new. It's a great innovation. No one there to talk about Wing Chun. No one have no clue what I have to put on the book. So, but he has to do it. He has to take a risk to maybe make somebody mad, maybe have some. He took the responsibility to spread the art. In terms of book, which is very difficult. What are gonna put the content in the book? So that's my question to Sifu Tony. If see him share with him his challenge his challenge to write the book, the first book ever in English language.
Bem, o mestre Tiago Quintela convida, né, Grão-Mestre Imamura para comentar a importância do livro na sua jornada, uma vez que Grão-Mestre Imamura traduziu palavra por palavra na época que teve acesso a primeira vez a esse livro, né? E Grão-Mestre Imamura, por sua vez, ele fala que ele comenta que na época em que ele teve acesso ao livro no Brasil, esse tipo de informação, esse nível de informação era muito escassa. Então, quando ele teve acesso ao livro de hoje, seu Siren Greco Wong, e ressalta que não foi uma cópia original, e sim foi uma fotocópia encadernada do livro, ele teve que traduzir palavra por palavra, usando um dicionário, pois como ele não sabia inglês e também não tinha Google Translation na época, né, levava-se em torno de um dia para traduzir uma página inteira. Né? E é muito interessante o quanto que pode se aproveitar, né, e aprender com isso, né, de uma forma diferente. O coautor do livro é Rolf Klausnitzer, que era um nome alemão, né, enquanto a pessoa responsável pela publicação é o Paul Crampton, né, que também ele era o dono de uma revista muito famosa sobre artes orientais, né? Ele ressalta esse ponto, no entanto, traz a pergunta que é como que seu Siren Greco Wong selecionou o conteúdo para o livro, tendo em vista que tudo naquela época era novo e ninguém tinha nenhuma ideia do que poderia ser colocado no livro. E assim, Sifu Greco Wong teve que assumir o risco e a responsabilidade da escolha do conteúdo para colocar no livro, e assim poderia irritar muitas pessoas na época. Então, ele pede para o Sifu Tony Yun compartilhar alguma coisa que ele saberia a respeito disso. Please, Sifu Tony.
Okay. I don't think that was entirely his choice. I don't think that was his idea. It was, he bumped into Ralph at the Hong Kong house, and it was Ralph's idea to publish a book. And Ralph was asking him if he would, do it together. And that was just it. I think, once again, that was his charisma, that, he attracts that kind of attention. And from there, you have to imagine back in 1967, when Wing Chun was only popular to a certain extent in Hong Kong, and it wasn't that popular in Europe. And then he would attract another guy who is also interested in Wing Chun, which is Rolf, and he would attract, a couple other guys from Malaysia to follow him. And then he also bumped into, another Yip Man student, Victor Kan, in the Hong Kong house as well. But then, so it's all destiny, it's all faith, that it happened. I don't think is out of his choice.
Bem, ele comenta que ele não acha que foi totalmente foi a escolha do Sifu Greco Wong, a ideia dele com relação ao que colocar no livro, pois a ideia de publicação do livro foi do Rolf. Rolf que foi até Sifu Greco Wong e pediu sua ajuda. Acredita que foi todo o seu carisma que atraiu espontaneamente a atenção dessas pessoas, né? E ele coloca que na década de 60, né, no ano de 67, o Wing Chun, né, era relativamente popular, né, em Hong Kong. No entanto, era completamente desconhecido na Europa, né? E lá, né, Rolf chegou a atrair alunos da Malásia e posteriormente, né, também o Sifu Victor Kan foi atraído também para esse grupo, né? Então, ele acha que tudo foram coisas que foram acontecendo espontaneamente.
Great, great, Sifu. Tony, thank you for your answers. Sifu, my Sifu, thank you too for your great question. And for my late question, the last question, I would like to address to Sifu Tony. I will return to the topic about the work teaching Wing Chun by the Greco Wong family in Canada. Late we were talking in offline, right? And you mentioned that you study weekly for a few years, and then Sipak Greco invited you to private classes, right? If I'm not mistaken. And we know that Sipak Greco had a very peculiar way of charging for classes too. About that, can you comment if there was any specific criteria that Sipak used to accept the student for paying, or was there any specific characteristics or behavior he hoped to notice in the student? Can you comment on that?
Bem, Mestre Tiago Quintela, né, traz sua última pergunta relativo ainda ao período em que se ensinava o Wing Chun, em que Sifu Greco estava ensinando o Wing Chun no Canadá, né? E pelo que ele entendeu, Sifu Tony narra que ele aprendia semanalmente, né, num grupo, em aulas em grupo inicialmente, e depois seu Sifu Greco Wong convidou para aprender, né, em aulas particulares. E assim, Mestre Tiago Quintela ressalta que sabe que Sifu Greco Wong tinham critérios bem específicos usados para determinar, né, o pagamento como que os alunos iam pagar, né, os critérios de pagamento. E assim ele pergunta se havia, né, características ou comportamentos específicos que ele valorizava e ressaltava, né, para determinar esses critérios, né? Please, Tony.
Okay. Just like Yip Man, he didn't want to teach for a living. So, money, teaching for money or charging people for money is not his main concern. He just wanted to keep up with the skill, and he wants to keep up with his practice. He wants to transmit the stuff. So he has class in his basement, but then little did I know that he would charge because like first day you go to him, you are strangers. He was giving you information, he was passing skills to you. So why would he not charge for his time and information and skills? I mean, he was giving you stuff, but then little did I know that after several years, usually roughly about 3 years, and he would have a book. He has an attendance book. It's just like a spreadsheet, but he doesn't keep track of it on a computer. He keep track of it on a notebook, and it has rows and columns. and then the rose is your name. And every time you come, he put a check mark on that day. And then over time, you gradually get into his systems. Okay, if you learn Silim Tao, if you learn Chamkyu, if you learn Beauty, if you learn Wooden Dummy, if you learn sparring, and all that he knows. So if he knows that you attended, at least 3 years worth of classes, then basically he would come to you and offer you to continue to join the classes or maybe private lessons without charge. But that is not something that he would publicize. I did not know about this. Many people did not know about this. Only people who got the privilege to receive this information or receive his skill for free would know about this. And as to how he choose the people, I mean, certainly I find it, you just have to have your interest. A lot of people came to him out of curiosity. So you just show up and you're curious, you attended some classes, you don't work hard, then he doesn't have to offer it to you. You would leave before 3 years is up, right? But then if you keep up with the interest, you keep asking questions, and then at certain time, he would offer it to you. I wouldn't talk about this unless he is retired from public teaching. He doesn't teach anybody anymore, so that's why I mentioned about this. During the time when I was there, during the time when he was teaching, nobody was mentioning anything. And then if he caught you mentioning to other people, you get scolded. But anyway, as per the selections, yeah, you have to have your own interest. Some kids, some teenagers show up because the parents sent him over there. So certainly, he wouldn't. You have to be out of your own interest to pursue that. Then he will give you his information, and then he will offer that to you. After a certain period. And certainly you have to be a normal, person in today's standard. And I have heard about him, kicking people out. I mean, I heard about, people who are drug dealers who came to the class. And after he found out, he was a drug dealer, he was, taking drugs and stuff, he'll kick those people out. Yeah. If you don't behave, well in the class, then he'll kick you out. Yeah. So if you're too slow, like he will kick you out. I've heard him kicking people who are particularly really slow, and in catching his material. Then he goes, why don't you just practice something else? I don't think this is cut out for you. And I've seen people who came to him after years of karate. And he goes, I wanted to learn Wing Chun now. So I'm black belt, however many dens. You go, I don't think you should waste your time. You spend so much time in karate already. Why don't you just continue doing your karate? I think you achieve more doing those. So he has his standard. He has his criteria. It's just, but you have to show that you have the interest. He's the old school type that you have to initiate your own questions. He's not like your professor that you pay to a school where you sit down and they will out of application give you the information. You have to show up on your own, whether you pay or don't pay, and you have to keep asking him the questions, and then he will give you the information.
Bem, Sifu Tony, ele comenta que assim como o Ipman, Sifu Greco Wong, ele inicialmente não tinha intenção de ensinar como uma carreira, ensinar o Wing Chun para ganhar a vida, né? Ou seja, ele não tinha essa preocupação em ganhar dinheiro com o Wing Chun, né? A sua preocupação está mais voltada na manutenção da sua habilidade, né? No seu aprendizado e na transmissão do conhecimento, né? Inicialmente ele ensinava no porão, né? E inicialmente com certeza ele cobrava, pois a pessoa que aparecia era um completo estranho. e ele ia passar informações e habilidades para essa pessoa. Então, tinha que cobrar dessas pessoas. No entanto, após certos anos, né, Sifu Tony ressalta que Greco Wong ele sempre tinha um livro de acompanhamento da frequência dos alunos, né, através do qual ele não acompanhava só a frequência, só que também o acesso. Ele anotava, né, o acesso de cada um dos alunos. Então, ele sabia, assim ele sabia, ele conseguia acompanhar e saber tudo a respeito do acesso de cada um dos alunos. E após certos anos que um aluno tinha de acesso, ele convidava, né, dependendo do interesse e da frequência desse aluno, o Sifu Greco Wong o convidava para continuar sua prática sem precisar pagar. Mas isso não era divulgado, né? As pessoas que não tinham acesso a isso não sabiam disso. Sifutone ressalta que ele mesmo não sabia disso até ele ser convidado para tal situação, né? Ele entende que para isso acontecer, o aluno tinha que ter seu interesse espontâneo, né, para continuar aprendendo. Porque se a pessoa simplesmente aparecesse por pura curiosidade, né, estava lá por pura curiosidade, não tinha aquele interesse genuíno de aprender, o Sifu Greco Wong não ofereceria isso a essa pessoa, pois essa pessoa espontaneamente pararia, né? E, e outra coisa que Sifu Tony Yun ressalta é que ele jamais tocaria nesse assunto a não ser que o seu Sifu Greco Wong já estivesse aposentado, porque durante aquela época ninguém mencionava nisso, né? Para isso, a pessoa, o aluno tinha que tinha que ser movido pelo seu próprio interesse e após certo período de prática, lhe era oferecida essa oportunidade, né? Pois ele já ouviu falar, se Futonião já ouviu falar de ocasiões em que alunos eram expulsos, né? Por exemplo, ele deu exemplo de um traficante que após o Sifu Greco Wong saber que o aluno dele era um traficante, foi retirado, né, do grupo, ou pessoas que não tinham devido comportamento, não um comportamento adequado também, e falou até de pessoas que eram extremamente lentas, que eram convidadas, né? O Sifu Greco Wong perguntava, ó, por que que você não pratica outra coisa? Talvez o Wing Chun não seja coisa indicada para você. E aconteceu também de uma pessoa que praticava há muitos anos karatê e veio até ele para aprender, até Sifu Greco Wong para aprender Wing Chun, e o próprio Greco Wong aconselhou, ó, eu não acho que você deveria, depois de tanto tempo investir no karatê, perder seu tempo com Wing Chun agora. Né? Então o Sifu Greco Wong tinha seus critérios, né, para fazer esse convite, né, para a pessoa não precisar pagar mais, e a pessoa, para isso, ela precisava mostrar seu interesse genuíno ao longo desses anos, né? E Sifu Greco Wong, ele era o estilo da velha guarda. Para ser aluno dele, você tinha que trazer suas próprias perguntas. Ele não era como um professor de escola que ia vir com perguntas prontas para você. Você tinha que trazer suas perguntas para aprender dele. Mestre Tiago Quintela?
Okay, so I want to make a question from our audience in
Excuse me,
YouTube.
one thing I want to
Okay.
add is he just mentioned you have to ask questions. He just mentioned about 2 weeks ago. You have to ask questions, and based on your questions, I don't have to touch your hand. Just based on your questions, I know where you are already, and then I will give you the information necessary, for you to advance. But then if you don't ask question, I will just give you the most basic information you do. And then, if you go home and practice, you will have questions and you will have reports. You would have different feeling, you will have different sensations, and then you go, okay, then I'll give you something else. I'll give you more. That's how old school it is.
Bem, Sifu Tony, ele ressalta que Sifu Greco Wong, insistia que os alunos tinham que trazer as perguntas, tinham que fazer as perguntas. E baseado nas perguntas, ele saberia em que nível o aluno estava, né? E assim ele providenciaria a informação necessária para que o aluno avançasse. Se o aluno não fizesse perguntas, ele apenas proveria as informações básicas, mas se o aluno voltasse para casa e praticasse, e depois praticasse, ele naturalmente teria perguntas, né, para fazer, e assim ele teria acesso a conteúdos mais diferenciados, né? E esse é o estilo que ele chama de old school, da velha guarda, né? Thank you, Sifu Tony, Mestre Quintela.
Okay, so Sifutani, I would like to make a question from our audience on the YouTube. So we have a question really interesting here, and I want to give you the opportunity to share with us what you think about the question. It's from Fabio Killer. He's an old follower of our channel, and his question is, just let me read here. He's asking about why are there so many differences in the shapes of long stick and double knives, and everyone claims to come from Ip Man. Do you know? Do you want to comment on that, Sifu Tony?
I don't know.
Bem,
That is also my same question. I have even within um my own Boyat lineage, I came across different versions of actually no within Boyat, the versions are pretty consistent. But then I have seen the many other versions of stick and knives, and I really don't have any idea why. All I care is I learned from my Sifu, and then he proved to me that his versions are pretty consistent with the rest of Muyat lineage. And I don't think it is necessary for him to make up the story, or for Muyat to even make up the story about Yip Man coming to teach him, right? Let's say, if he made it up and then my Sifu showed up, Yip Man wasn't there. So, what good would that be? So I don't think that was a made up story. And then also, the very next day after Muyat show him the pole and the knives on those two different occasions, Muyat had stuff to show my Sifu. So, why didn't he, if he had to make it up, why does he have to make up on those two specific occasions? When, he did have stuff, additional stuff and informations and skills to show my Sifu, and then they practiced together on those two items, and that's how I knew. And yeah, I really couldn't comment on other lineage.
bem, o Mestre Tiago Quintela traz uma das perguntas dos telespectadores do YouTube, que estão assistindo pelo canal Kung Fu Life, né? E um deles é de um antigo seguidor do canal, que é o Fábio Killer, que pergunta por que existem tantas diferenças nas formas de bastão longos e facas duplas, né? Tendo em vista que todos alegam ser provenientes de Ip Man, do patriarca Ip Man. E então, o Sifu Tony Young é bem sincero ao falar que ele não sabe, né? Ele não sabe, e ele tem as mesmas perguntas, né? Ele sabe que tem muitas versões, né, de outras famílias, muito embora na família, na linhagem de Moyat, né, as versões do bastão longo e das facas duplas sejam bem consistentes, né, e não conflitantes. Ele não sabe porque em outras famílias tem tantas diferenças, né? E tudo que importa para ele menciona, tudo que importa para ele é que ele aprendeu com seu próprio Sifu, Greco Wong, e que Greco Wong lhe garantiu que o que ele estava aprendendo era consistente com que as outras famílias da linhagem Moyat estavam aprendendo, e ele entende que não tinha motivo para seu Sifu inventar as histórias, né? As histórias dentro das quais o Sifu Greco Wong foi convidado para estar presente quando o patriarca Moyado foi ter acesso ao bastão longo e as facas, né? Porque que diferença ia fazer, né? Para o Sifu Greco Wong falar que foi convidado, mas não pôde estar presente, né? Teve que estar num jantar familiar. E ainda assim, nos dias seguintes, depois dessas duas ocasiões diferentes, nos dias posteriores, Moyat já tinha conteúdo para lhe passar baseado naquilo que Man lhe tinha ensinado. Então ele acredita que não teria por que seu Sifu ficar inventando essas coisas, né? Então, ele também, ele pode falar sobre isso, sobre o acesso que ele teve, mas não tem como ele fazer qualquer comentário a respeito das outras linhagens e outras famílias. Thank you, Sifu Tony.
Yeah. And I do recognize that the system or the way the kata or the forms or the knives and the pole it changes from lineage to lineage, and I see that there were changes from over time when Yip Man teach the stuff. I think you can recognize the early students of Yip Man, and then the middle students of Yip Man, and then later students of Yip Man. When they do their forms, there's a little bit different. But then within the time of Muyat, you can look at Muyat, you can look at Makpo, you can look at Zhao Jiqun, and they are pretty consistent. Just last year, June, I went to Hong Kong and I visited Zhao Jiqun's grand student, and then he play his dummy to me, I play my dummy to him. They're 98% similar, unlike other lineages. So I can see that, okay, if this Yip Man student is playing it this way, Buyat is doing it this way, my Sifu is doing it this way, and they are roughly the same, then I can confirm that, Yip Man is teaching these people doing this time frame in this manner. And then, somebody who are following Yip Man earlier time would be a little bit different, and some people who follow Yip Man a little bit later would be even a little bit different. So I can only suspect that he changes over time.
Bem, Sifu Tony Young, ele também comenta e reconhece que o sistema e o jeito que as formas eram ensinadas mudam, né, ao passar do tempo, né, de linhagem para linhagem. E ele também reconhece que havia diferenças, né, de acordo com o período do tempo em que Ip Man estava ensinando, em comparação com os alunos iniciais de Ip Man em Hong Kong, os alunos que estavam mais ou menos no período médio, e os alunos que já estavam nos últimos anos, né, da vida de Ip Man. Ele entende que há diferenças de ensinamentos durante esses períodos. Aí ele faz referência a Moyat, Makpo e Chao Chi-Chen, né? Comenta que a forma que eles aprenderam é muito consistente, muito semelhante, né? Então ele deduz que, com base nisso, os alunos que aprenderam nesse período aprenderam de certa forma. Tanto que ele foi até um aluno de Chao Chi-Chen e eles compartilharam o boneco de madeira, ele mostrou para ele o boneco de madeira e vice-versa, e tinha uma semelhança de 98%, né? Então, assim, ele pode confirmar que Mano ensinava essas pessoas durante esse período dessa maneira. Então, ele pode suspeitar que aqueles que que aprenderam no período inicial aprenderam de uma maneira, e aqueles que aprenderam no período posterior, nos últimos anos de Mano, aprenderam talvez com certas diferenças também. Thank you, Sifu Tony.
Okay, thank you. So now we are going to an end, and I would like Sifu Tony for his final words. And before that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation. and say that it was very informative for me and very fun to be here talking about my
Yeah.
CPAC and stories that make up the history that right of the clan Moyat. And after your final words, Sifu Tony, ask my Sifu to close our live today with his comments. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to thank you all for inviting me to participate in this particular interview. After last year, December, after I met Leo at Sitai's birthday, and I felt the sincerity from the Muya family. They all treat me really, really well. And then, from there, we have a real good connections, and thereby this is happening now. I'm doing this to shed light on my Sifu's life, because I don't think he seek the public attention. He has been trying to be very low profile all along, but I do feel that he has a lot of skills, and all these people who attended his class experienced his charisma and saw his skill. And I think that the world should know about this. I'm not doing this to brag about my skill. I mean, whatever I have is just probably a portion of what he has. So I just think that the world should know about this. When especially when Wing Chun is so popular right now, and he should be recognized for his work in England, Nigeria, and Calgary, and especially his other Sidai, in different parts of the world, who is now spreading Wing Chun and making it popular right now. Yeah, thank you everybody for inviting me, and thank all the audience for listening to this.
Bem, Mestre Tiago Quintela, ele agradece, né? Disse que tudo isso foi muito informativo para ele, foi muito bom ouvir todas essas histórias, né? E convida o Sifu Tonion para suas palavras finais, e depois convida também seu Sifu Grão Mestre Imamura para fechar a live. Sifu Tonion, ele agradece a todos pelo convite de estar presente nesse podcast hoje, e fala que depois de dezembro do ano passado, durante o aniversário da sua Citai, que é Madame Halemoi, ele teve a oportunidade de conhecer Grão-Mestre Imamura e viu sua sinceridade em querer ajudar a família. E ele está fazendo tudo isso para trazer um esclarecimento, né? E trazer ao público um pouco da vida de seu Sifu Greco Wong, que muito embora Greco Wong nunca buscou essa atenção, né? Ele acredita que seu Sifu era muito habilidoso, e todos que tiveram acesso, todos que aprenderam com ele, tiveram a oportunidade de ver sua habilidade, seu carisma. E ele não está se gabando de tudo isso, mas ele acha que seu Sifu deveria ser reconhecido pelo seu trabalho. Por isso, ele agradece a todos presentes e a todos que estão assistindo, né, fora da plataforma aqui do Zoom também. Mestre Quintela, Chikun.
Loud, let's just call my Sifu to comment and close our live. Thank you all. Sifu, please. O senhor tá mudo, Sifu.
I'd like to thank all the Kung Fu Life team, particularly Sifu Tiago Quintela, who work as a host of this podcast, together with Sifu Gabriel Mendes as the translator. You guys made a great job. Of course, all the people working the technical aspect, like Edson Maciel and Sifu Rodrigo Giarola also did a very good job. Thank you all. And of course, I'd like to give a special thank you to Sifu Tony Young, because we in the Muya family recognize our Dai Sihing Greco Wong as a very first Muya disciple, so as Muya himself. So our Sifu always mention Greco Wong, the Dai Dai Ji. And this is, I believe, is very important to everybody knows, because as I mentioned, Sifu Tony Yun, his Sifu is a very low profile. But as he mentioned also, the world deserves, and his work deserves to see, understand, and acknowledge what he did. What he did is a lot, had impact, not just for a young man like me in those days, but also in all the Brazil, thanks his student, Thomas Lowe, who also did important work here. And not just here, in Malaysia, as I know, and other place, of course, in Canada, particularly in Calgary, when Sifu Hang Wong and Sifu Tony Yung keep his legacy. And I do hope his legacy lasts forever. Thank you all, and good night. I let now for Sifu Gabriel make the translation.
Bem, Grão-Mestre Imamura começa agradecendo a todos do time do Kung Fu Life, inicialmente Sifu Tiago Quintela, como anfitrião do podcast, ao lado de Gabriel Mendes, né, como tradutor, e também agradece as pessoas responsáveis pela parte técnica, como Edson Maciel e Sifu Rodrigo Jarola, né, e reserva um agradecimento especial para o Sifu Tony Yun, pois todos nós da família Moyat reconhecemos o Daisy Greco Wong como o primeiro discípulo de Moyat, né? Assim como o próprio Moyat mencionou. E isso é muito importante para que todos saibam, muito embora Greco Wong não era uma pessoa que buscava destaque, né? O mundo merece saber, entender seu trabalho, né? Entender tudo que ele fazia, pois ele fez muito que causou um grande impacto, né? Para todos aqui os jovens no Brasil, e não apenas aqui, também na Malásia, no Canadá, né? E com a ajuda do Sifu Tony Yong e seu Siren, Paul Yong tem ajudado a, a propagar o legado, para que o legado do Sifu Greco Wong dure para sempre. Sifu.
I think that's all. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Tudo,
Bye-bye.
muito obrigado. Até mais. Boa noite a todos.
Edson.